Welcome back to Elevation Perspective. My name is Mark, joined today with Frank Tropiano. Frank, today we're talking about the John Cena Farewell Tour. This has been a topic we've both been very excited to break down now for probably months. I think this is something we've definitely been talking about for a long time now. Frank, let's just talk about it right out of the gates. How excited are you for the year of John Cena in 2025?
Yeah, I'm excited. And if you've been with us, these last few months, we've referenced John like probably in every single time. And like I think the both of us have like drawn ourselves back and said, "Hey, wait, maybe let's not go into that because we know we were planning on doing this episode." And with Raw on Netflix just over a little bit of a week away, I'm glad it's finally here. We finally get to pour it all out there and talk about it a little bit. So.
No, it's so true though. We have like little brief mentions about him that we both kind of like. I think one of us tells the other like, "All right, let's hold on, let's wait for that one episode where we'll really dive into that." But it's so true. John Cena is going to have a massive footprint on the year 2025. About 36 dates is what the rumor is from January to December. He's basically going to be full time. It's really, really exciting stuff. We're kicking it off with the first Raw on Netflix on January 6th. Frank, I think my personal opinion how this is going to play out here. He cuts a promo, interrupted by a heel, attitude adjustment, big pop for John Cena. Do you think anything more concrete, more substance than that for this first Raw on Netflix?
So this is tough because part of me is sitting there saying, what does John Cena want through all of this, right? I think that's going to be a big thing. I think Triple H has kind of said in that post-game press conference, what do they call them? The media scrum afterward, right? Triple H said not many people are like him, and he has the right to kind of end this the way he wants to end this. So I do believe that he's going to get a lot of input. And so if John's like, hey, you only got me for 36 days, give me a match, even if it's just like a 5-minute match against somebody lesser, I could definitely see them doing something quick right off the bat, get him rolling. It's going to be a year-long thing, get him in ring shape. But also, if they want his first action to be the Royal Rumble, I totally get that too. But I'm hoping for a little bit more, even if it's just like a scrum that's not like a whole match, just like a fight, and then someone else comes in and interrupts earlier. Maybe put him in a tag team match that day if you don't want. I don't know. There's a lot of different things they can do here, but I hope we get to see him get physical, not just talk. Even though I do love me a great John Cena promo, and it will be enough if that's all it is.
And it is a very loaded card, so you're right. Maybe he gets like a quick 10-minute match with somebody. It's not going to be like a 20-minute or a half-hour classic for sure. Not his first night back, at least. We're going to try to stay on some kind of timeline here. The next major event would be the Royal Rumble following the first Raw on Netflix. I guess the first question here is, do you think he wins this Royal Rumble?
If you would have asked me before today, I would have told you no. But as of this morning, I saw somebody tweet out, and look, this is purely speculation, but I'm sure you've seen that picture going around of the Rumble card, the entrances 1 through 30, how they're exactly planned out, who's going to start, who's going to finish. And it has John beating The Rock in the final.
I have not seen this. This
There's
is
this
brand
picture
new
going
news to
around.
me.
Everyone's tweeting, like, is this real? It's probably not real, but I do love the story that match card is telling. Just a little insight. 1 and 2 are Kevin Owens and Randy Orton in the Royal Rumble. John comes out at 15. The Rock is the last entrance at 30. And Cena throws out The Rock to win the Royal Rumble. That is the story of what this piece of paper with 30 names is telling us. And I think that sounds awesome. Also, there's all those rumors going around as of, again, today that they really like John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. A lot of the higher ups are really feeling that.
I did not see this possible spoiler. Hopefully, it's wrong. I would hate to have that already spoiled,
Yeah.
crazy moment like that. But I really am 50-50 going back and forth here. In my opinion, if he doesn't win the Rumble and he has to win the Chamber, we just have such little time here to set up this big match for John. He, of course, comes back January 6th. The Rumble is February 1st, and then Mania is in April. So it's a very short amount of time to get the ball rolling here. We can't really ease into this for John Cena's final WrestleMania event. So right now, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he's probably final 4, maybe final 2, gets eliminated. I think we keep the Royal Rumble win on something going on with The Rock, Roman, Cody, whatever that may be, and then we keep John Cena and he winds up winning the Chamber. I think that makes the most logistical sense, but it's a total 50-50 coin flip at this time.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of this Royal Rumble is we really don't know what the direction is, right? It could be The Rock, it could be Cena, it could be Roman Reigns. You're telling me if Roman Reigns wins this Royal Rumble, someone's going to be surprised? Because I'm certainly not. I mean, look, there's a number of guys. If they want to give somebody else the rub, if they want to give somebody else the nod, they'll go through this gauntlet of legends that's in here too, which will be great. It can be John and it can be great. It cannot be John, and I don't think it'll affect him in this run.
So I did say John is not going to win. Frank, are you saying he is going to win? What's your lean right now?
I mean, for me, there's too many names for me to say that I think he's going to win. But I will say this: I think he has the best shot to win out of anyone in the Rumble right now,
So you're
because
going to say yes. You got to give me a yes or a no for this one.
all right, I'll give you a yes. I'll go with Cena. I'll give you the yes.
Listen, it's a 50-50 shot, I believe. So
It,
I think you should be more confident in your answer. Next up here after the Royal Rumble, we're looking already toward WrestleMania. It's kind of crazy. The Chamber is in between, but I assume if John does win, he probably won't work the Chamber. Like I said, I think he wins one. I think he either wins the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber. For the point of this exercise, we'll just bypass the Chamber here and look at WrestleMania. Frank, who do you want to see? Who do you think we're going to see as John Cena's final WrestleMania opponent?
this is tough too. This is this is all. It's all going to
there's
be
so,
real tough.
there's so many moving parts here where like there's so many different guys depending on how the Rumble and the Chamber get booked. It's very difficult, but this is why we're doing this exercise.
The match is Cody versus John. That's how I feel anyway. But I think there's an argument to be made that both him and Dwayne lose out on everything and face each other at WrestleMania one more time. I think that you have an argument to be made that the match that makes more sense is John Cena versus Gunther. But for me, I'd like to see him face Cody.
Okay, so in this scenario, like I kind of forced you into saying John's going to win the Rumble. He would win the Rumble and choose Cody Rhodes as opponent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so my alternate timeline scenario here is John loses the Rumble, wins the Chamber, and fights CM Punk. John Cena versus CM Punk for the title. I don't know if that. I have a hard time with this one because technically Cody's belt is the real world championship. I know it's kind of like a murky gray area there. Does it have the same effect if John wins CM Punk's belt, or right now it's Gunther's belt? Does that have the same feeling, the same level of achievement for number 17? I'm not sure, but right now I think John Cena versus CM Punk, maybe main eventing night one of WrestleMania, really works for me.
Well, I'll say this in terms of the legitimacy of that belt. If your holders right now are in order Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, Gunther, CM Punk, and then John Cena, that belt clearly starts to mean something. You know what I mean?
You
So
forgot about Drew McIntyre when he had the belt.
I did. You're right, and that's another name that goes along with those guys. Um, that's a good list of champions that really legitimizes that as a real world championship. And obviously, whoever beats John is going to get a major rub there.
He
So
also does not need to win 17 at Mania. There's always SummerSlam. There are other big matches he can win that 17 title at. So it doesn't have to be WrestleMania, but it kind of feels like it probably should be.
we are forcing him in the title scene early here, right? Like we you had acknowledged it's going to be 12 months, right?
And I
It's going to
wish
be
we
a
had
full
more
year,
time. Just in the
right?
sense that I wish Mania wasn't two
Right,
months after his debut or return, I should say. So they're kind of forcing our hand. We kind of have to hurry this up.
right. And I think that a possibility that we need to strongly talk about for John Cena winning a title would be Money in the Bank. And if you want to do John versus CM Punk, I think Money in the Bank is the perfect stage to set it. Not because it's a big pay per view, but because if we're talking about the history between those two guys, that was their apex,
Yeah.
that was their moment. And that means that you can make a pay per view like Money in the Bank, which already has this great match, mean that much more. Final time John Cena and CM Punk face off, and it's for the World Heavyweight Championship. And maybe this time John's the one blowing the kiss and hopping over the barricade. Even though I think that they'll probably raise each other's hands in the middle of the ring, regardless of who wins. But I think if you want to do Cena and Punk, that would be the spot to do it.
And that would be very cool. It's going to be really interesting with guys like CM Punk. Like they're not going to boo Punk or John. It's going to be very interesting, the dynamic of some of these matches, especially like the face versus face situations. There's probably not too many scenarios there. I feel like in the Cody hypothetical, the people are going to boo Cody really easily and just root for John. But I feel like CM Punk is still so ridiculously over. I think Cody's starting to kind of walk that line where the quote unquote like smart fans are really starting to turn on him, really want him to go heel. But that's a story for another day. So in this hypothetical where you do have John Cena taking on Cody Rhodes as his final WrestleMania opponent, do you have John winning his 17th title in that scenario?
You're gonna hurt me for saying this, but it could go either way. I could see that
Like, I
more.
need you to be more definitive. This is an exercise. No one's holding you to this. No one's in
No,
danger.
I
You
know,
gotta,
I
you
know,
gotta
I
give it to
know.
me.
All right. I will say yes. If we're gonna put John Cena in the main event at WrestleMania, Cody had just beaten Roman last year in what is widely regarded as one of the better main events in the history of WrestleMania, right? So he can take a loss after holding that title for a year. And yeah, I would have John winning. I would lean towards John winning.
Okay, I'll just also double down there in my ridiculous hypothetical on my side of the game here. I'm going to say he will beat CM Punk in the night one main event of WrestleMania. I feel like, as I'm saying it, I think I picked CM Punk because he does bring an incredible amount of legitimacy to that belt. Where on the other side, I think it has to be Cody's belt. I really do. The more I talk about it, I think 17 has to be Cody's belt. But I will stick to what I'm going with here, and I will say he beats CM Punk night one of WrestleMania for his 17th World Championship.
Okay. So we both have him winning 17 at the show of shows, but I have a question for you now.
Okay.
Let's say they don't want to put him in the title picture in at WrestleMania, right? What's the alternative? Who does he get then?
So I think a possible alternative here, and it's kind of a murkier. This is why I wish we had more time. Um, he's never won the Intercontinental Championship. It's not something he's done before. When he does that, he becomes a Grand Slam champion. Not sure if that's in the plans here. I think it would have been a really nice scenario if there was 6 months to Mania, if he won the IC title pretty early on here, defended it for a couple of months, dropped it, then got involved with the world title picture. But I think it's still a decent alternative if they want to go that route. It just feels a little bit underwhelming to have John Cena's final match for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania.
Okay. John Cena versus Braun Breaker, though. I'm sold. Like, that's easy for me. Yeah, absolutely. And the other one that seems to be circulating, John Cena versus Logan Paul. Again, I get what you're saying. For his final WrestleMania, it would be different if his final WrestleMania was his final match, but it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And so John Cena is not defined by WrestleMania, but WrestleMania is also the most important show on the WWE calendar. So it's a tough balance. But if they did Cena and Logan Paul, Logan Paul has absolutely proven that he deserves a match on this run. I want to see John Cena versus Logan Paul. I don't know if I want to see it at WrestleMania. Maybe that could be SummerSlam. Maybe that could be a Cena title defense, whether it's the IC or the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to assume that he's not going to win the United States Championship, even though that is one of his belts. You know what I mean? He literally got that spinner belt. But Logan Paul versus John Cena absolutely should happen. I don't know if it should happen at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's the fine line we have to walk here where I agree with you. I think Logan Paul would be awesome versus John Cena. I think there's some Braun Breaker would be great. There's so many possible scenarios here that work really well, but it's his last WrestleMania. We can't, I mean, I guess he can open a show hypothetically against Logan Paul, and that would be nice, but it feels like he should be doing more in that final WrestleMania. Do you think throughout this year, 36 days, whatever it might be, that John does claim the Intercontinental Championship and become a Grand Slam champion?
I think that that's secondary in terms to the 17.
And this is also the messy part of the whole thing, where if he is right, if he's thrust into the main title picture right out of the gates here, he probably wins, we think, but who knows? Maybe he loses. It feels kind of weird if he was then to go into the IC picture for a couple of months of this run. The timeline's a little odd. I really hope they thought this out very thoroughly. I'm sure they did. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, but I'm concerned about the timeline of all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting to see the way it goes, but I think the good thing is you're going to get every WWE show for him in. So if at the end of the rope, right, we get to November next year, which I know it's hard to talk about in November, right, but we're trying to see this whole thing through, right? And John Cena has won his 17th title, held the Intercontinental Championship, faced all the people that he needs to face. Well, John Cena's never been in War Games. let's put John Cena in the War Games match. Let's send him off in War Games. Team Cena versus team, I don't even know, but maybe that's the time that he gets his guys. Maybe that's the time that he gets CM Punk and Randy Orton and John Cena and two other guys that you associate with Cena. Maybe they let us borrow Edge in AEW. They bring him over. I don't know if TK is going to sign off on that, but it could be something like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, that could be a spot where we give Cena his due diligence with all of his guys, and
Yeah.
maybe we don't have a Punk Cena match because we've done it so many times. Maybe we don't have a Punk Randy match, which I think is the other guy we have to talk about in all of this because we've seen it so many times.
That'd be really cool, actually, as you talk about that. A team Cena versus, you're going to have to find a really good heel to man the other team. I don't think Roman works in that scenario. Maybe Kevin Owens. Who knows? We can't even try to think that through. But that'd be really cool if it was like John and all of his like former boys and rivals. That's actually a really awesome idea. But who knows? Like you said, that's November. We are quite a ways away from that. I'm going to say he does win the Intercontinental Championship. I think it's a really interesting opportunity to kind of do the John Cena U.S. Open Challenge and do that for a handful of Raws, maybe defend it like 4 or 5 times before he eventually drops it. You give him that opportunity to have some of those like one-off dream matches against some of those guys like the Dominic Mysterios, Carmelos. Like there's some guys out there that you don't want to really give a whole storyline to because we're so short on time, but just to get in there and have that John Cena match would be really cool for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and to your point, that open challenge was so special.
Yep.
Um, I remember two distinct matches from that John Cena Open Challenge. They were not from guys on the WWE roster. It was Kevin Owens and it was Sami Zayn who accepted those challenges. And those matches were both absolutely great. And Kevin Owens was an instant star. He stepped on the United States title. I remember it like he was holding his NXT
Hey,
title
he's
over the
NXT
United
champion.
States.
Yep.
Yes, it was perfect. It was perfect, perfect, perfect. So I hope that they can give the next NXT guys the rub in the same way that they gave Kevin Owens. And then Sami Zayn, obviously playing the babyface, came and had just an absolutely crazy match. That was when he was still diving through the bottom rope
The
turnbuckle, like
DDT.
yeah, the DDT
Yeah.
through. He did one of the. I just remember watching Sami Zayn like in a WWE ring for the first time, and I was like that was really cool. But yeah, so I hope he can elevate other guys that maybe he can't main event a pay-per-view with in this run, to that status in that kind of thing. So yeah, I see run would be great.
I have two final questions here for us, Frank. Number one dream match versus a veteran guy that Cena has worked before, maybe not excessively, but enough that there's a history and a John Cena feud with a new, more, I don't want to say a lot of these guys are older. I don't want to say like young guy. Like a lot of these guys are older who come over to WWE who hasn't worked with John Cena before, but just a newer guy that Cena hasn't worked with. Two dream matches. Frank, give me your first versus a veteran.
Okay, my veteran match. This one's easy to me. Triple threat match. I know this is kind of cheating, but it's John versus Randy versus Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. Let's run it back one more time. It's the last time three all-time greats are going to share the ring, and at least against each other. Like I said, hopefully my War Games match kind of works out at the end of the year. That would be cool. But I think that would be definitely the money match. But I think if you're going to make me pick one, and I know you're going to make me pick one, I'd pick John Cena, CM Punk, Money in the Bank. Doesn't have to be a championship on the line, but I'd like it to be in that venue.
I like that for sure. Like we keep saying, Randy Orton, CM Punk, these guys are all intertwined in John's story. We don't know how it's going to happen. We don't know how they're going to get involved. I'm sure Roman gets involved, Seth Rollins, like all of these main big guys, they got to be a part of this. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I like your Money in the Bank tie in there that you said previously. You're reiterating that now with John Cena versus CM Punk and Money in the Bank. I like that a lot. You kind of half stole my guy when you started talking about Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens makes so much sense. Like you said, he made his debut with the NXT Championship, stomping on John Cena's United States Championship. It had such great impact when he did it. I feel like Kevin Owens is doing such incredible heel work right now that is a feud that can be phenomenal. KO on the mic is ridiculously good, as is John. So I think we'll definitely get KO versus John Cena at some point throughout this year, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, that would be great. The bonus I want to throw in there is if they were to do John and Rock at some type of anything, I'm all in, for the record. Like, I'm not mentioning it because I just don't see how the timelines are going to. They're both so limited. It's going to be really tough to get them in the ring. But if they do it, I don't care that they branded it as once a lifetime the first time, then did it 2 other times. Like, people will make those jokes and stuff like that. I don't care. Give me John
I'll tell
Cena.
you what, though, it works in the Rumble. Like you were saying earlier, like that's the scenario where you don't have to give them a match. If they're just both in there together, the crowd's going to go absolutely nuts, like they did at WrestleMania when they had that little standoff before the "You Can't See Me" rock bottom. And that could be a really awesome spot. But now I'm really upset that you told me about this. And I really hope it doesn't happen. This is a
Same
massive
thing.
Royal Rumble spoiler.
If they do it in the Rumble, though, it's got to be the same thing, right? Cena's looks unstoppable in the middle of the ring. He's clearing, he's throwing a few guys over the ring. The rest of the guys are standing down, and then the Rock's music hits, and they come into the ring, and they do the thing where they shuffle their heads, and they both look both sides. Oh,
They definitely have
chills.
to have some kind of altercation, whether it be a promo, whether it be physical. I'm sure John and The Rock will have some kind of segment together over the next year for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's got to happen.
Now, I'll go first here for the dream match versus a newer guy that Cena has not worked with before. This is kind of cheating a little bit, because I'm thinking this through thoroughly, and I'm like, who would the fans just go absolutely crazy about? I'm going to say Joe Hendry. I'm going to say Joe Hendry is at this point in this distant future. I don't know what his contract status is, but let's just say whether he gets the okay to leave TNA for a match or he's with WWE by now, which I'm sure he will be once the TNA contract does expire. I'm going to say John Cena versus Joe Hendry. I think the crowd absolutely lose their minds just at their entrances alone. I don't know how great the match would be, but I feel like that's an opportunity that's really, really cool for both guys, where Joe Hendry's like the new big guy and John Cena is John Cena. So I'll say Joe Hendry.
Yeah, that would be cool. He had a partnership ish with LA Knight the last time he came back. But I'll tell you what, the war of words between LA Knight and John Cena would be awesome. And I'd love to see it. So sign me up for John Cena versus LA Knight for the Intercontinental Championship, whether it's on John or it's back on LA Knight, who is moving to Raw now, right? So it's possible that, I'm sorry, I said back. He has not won the Intercontinental Championship. He was previously the United States champion. So whether it's on LA Knight or it's on John Cena, that seems like a great match to me. I think we already talked about Braun Breaker, so I'm not going to bring that. I won't bring that back up again and say that that's my match. The other guy, since we're mentioning guys outside of WWE, another great promo battle, which is not going to happen because again, MJF just re-upped, or didn't just, but like he re-upped with AEW very recently, because I know that was a rumor for. But in the hypothetical of great promos, that would be wonderful to watch too.
Yeah, MJF got that tattoo famously after he
Yeah.
was talking about the bidding war of 24. He then got the AEW tattoo, so I don't think he's coming. Maybe, like, I mean, more AEW guys. There's Daniel Bryan, like you said previously, there's Edge. We have no idea. There's not a working relationship here. Like, it's not going to happen where Tony's like, yeah, I'll give you these guys for the night. That's not going to happen, but who knows? I mean, Daniel Bryan's like kind of injured now. I don't know what his status is.
He's
Maybe
on a I don't think he's locked up there long term where they could like that would be off the table completely, but we don't know. We have
maybe
no
he
clue.
comes back and does some kind of thing with John for his farewell. Maybe Tony Khan gives him the green light to do it. Who knows? It's such a unique situation here with John Cena. Like, it's John Cena. This is top two, top three wrestler, maybe all time. I don't know. It's always a tough objective conversation to have, but has such a massive footprint on the industry where maybe Tony Khan says, whatever, we'll give you one night of Dale Bryan.
Yeah, yeah, or Edge, like you said. I think that would be awesome. Like I think that would be really cool because again, those guys, especially Edge, in terms of we talk about Randy, we talk about Punk. Edge is the other guy where you can't tell the story of John Cena without talking about John Cena versus Edge. That might be his best rivalry of all of them. I mean, I personally think it's Randy. They fought so many times. They really carried the company for a long time, but Edge and Punk are right there too.
And we haven't even talked about Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, possibly Brock Lesnar. Like, there is so much that needs to happen in this year. Frank, is there anything else that you want to talk about here? I know we could talk about this for days, but unfortunately we cannot do that. Is there any big talking point you want to hit before we call it a day?
Yeah, there's one more thing.
Okay.
I know I've been talking about this war of words that John's going to have with all these different people, right? Who are you most anticipating a promo battle between John and in this final run here? Who's gonna get on the mic and go toe to toe with John, and you're just like, wow, the two of them really just had out for each other without even throwing a punch?
I mean, off the rip, you think of LA Knight, you think of Kevin Owens, you think of CM Punk. Those are the three guys that just jump out at me. I think Kevin Owens is the one heelish enough guy that can really make it hurt. I mean, depending on if they do turn Cody, how they want to go about all of that. That's a really tough question. I'll say Kevin Owens. I think that feud has to happen. Kevin Owens is so over right now as this menacing heel, but now he's starting to kind of get some sympathy as possibly a not heel, but whatever. That's what wrestling fans do. I'll say Kevin Owens. Who do you have?
For me, it's got to be Gunther. Um, and
Now you think
okay,
Gunther can do that with John
okay,
Cena?
okay. Wait a minute. That's not fair because I know we're a little sour on Gunther right now. Like we're a little down on him, but like 2 months ago, Gunther was telling Bret Hart how Goldberg was his favorite wrestler. Like
Yeah, but
that's
he
the.
wasn't cutting these like Hall of Fame storybook promos.
But it was first of all, I disagree with that. The the promos, the original promos against Priest, where he was telling him, sorry that you were homeless, but my parents loved me. Like something like that.
But that
Compare
is
like,
so basic. That is such a
but
basic heel versus face. You're a homeless, cheap, like
sure,
piece of crud. Like that's not.
absolutely. But it worked because of the vibrato and the swagger that Gunther carries himself with. And I do think that ultimately, when we're talking about promos leading to a good match, that could be a real brawl. I think that versus John is going to be great.
That was a very out of left field choice for me, at least. I'm not sure. Again, maybe you keep saying we soured. You know how badly I soured on him.
No, I know you
No,
more
I'm
than me.
very out on Gunther right now, and of course that can change. But I'm not even trying to be like mean right now. I don't think he's a top 10 promo in the company. I think we could definitely, and I'm not going to sit here and do it.
If we're ruling out part timers, he definitely is.
All right, that'll be our next exercise. I'm not going to do that for today's video, but
Top.
I'm not sure if
Look
Gunther is the
forward to
top
our
10
next
promo.
video. Top
Next
10
video,
promos
we'll
in the
kick that
company.
off after I do some research and I give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe. But
Okay, I got two more questions for you. Quick, yes or no answers. Okay.
okay,
No, number one, is John Cena on the Mount Rushmore of WWE?
easily.
Okay. Is John Cena on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling?
Yes.
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
those two things coincide for me. I mean, like I said, this is something we have to like thoroughly think through, and maybe I have some biases in there. But for me, just off the rip, I'll say John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker. Maybe that's not fair. Maybe that shows my age. I'm not sure. I know people are going to yell Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, whatever it might be. For me, it's those four guys. You want to just give us your four quick, Frank?
Yeah, I would say it's probably Cena, Stone Cold, and then it gets a little murky for me. I want to put Dwayne on there. I absolutely do. But I know Hulk Hogan definitely has to be on that list, right? So I'll say Hogan, Undertaker, with The Rock and Andre the Giant being the two that I would like to put on, but can't.
Fair enough. We got a bonus question there with our Mount Rushmores, kind of out of nowhere, but that is what Elevation Perspective Wrestling is all about. Frank, it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.